welcome back to In Conversations with R&B. This is episode 3,
And we're talking about
Wild Robot.
yes, the wild robot.
The Wild Robot, it was a...
Our third animation for this segment, and then the next segment is going to be about, well, tune in and you find out.
Tune in. We're just subtle foreshadowing. Something's coming. More is coming is what we're trying to say.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Let's dive right into it.
yeah, what did you think about the movie itself? Like, just as a general question.
I loved it.
Yeah?
I enjoyed it. Even as an adult, you enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like, some animation movies are not just for children. You can tell what is for children because it has that, elements of animals and like robots, because we are, technology is
Yeah.
where it is right now, right? So very good, not just for the kids, but also for an adult. It will make you cry. I
Yes.
told I wasn't going to cry, but I did.
And I cried 3 times that I watched that movie. All 3 times.
And you watch, yes, I watched it once.
So, second question in this sense. What did you learn about Ross, like in the opening scenes? What do you think, like, how does she first try to survive?
Well, because Ross is she's a robot, right? And she is wired to help and complete the task.
Yeah.
That's exactly what she's trying to do the entire first scenes, right?
Yes.
She is trying to go out, ask, oh hey, who ordered me? What do you need help with?
Yeah.
Let me help you out. What do you need help with? And
She
again,
start putting stickers in every freaking animal. Hey, that promotion here.
yes, that too. But I also think, like, that scene where she realizes that, I cannot understand these people. Beings. I cannot understand these beings. That I need to learn how they communicate, because she was only able to communicate with human beings, and here she is in wilderness with animals where she does not understand the language.
Yeah.
And as a person, you're like, well, how do animals speak? It's an animation movie, get over it.
Yeah.
Okay? And animals speak at frequencies. So basically all this robot is doing is taking in all that information that, this is how this animal communicates with another, this is how this animal communicates with another. So right after she decodes that frequency of sound with each and every animal, she starts to communicate. And I think that's the pivotal point to
Well, yeah, like when she activates the learning mode, you could kind of like compare that as like in terms of human resilience, like when you were like, it symbolized kind of like that ability to learn with your environment.
Yes.
So, right? So like we need to adapt to our environment, and that's how we build that resilience, and we activate in ourselves that learning mode too.
Do you want to build up more on that resilience part there?
And because she, instead of shutting down,
Yes.
she evolves. That's basically like she observes, she listens, she adapts to it, and the thing with that is like if you remember at the beginning of the movie, where she's down there and then there's this big wave coming, so she needs to climb the rocks. That's where you can like get a glimpse of how she, although she's not built for that world, she knows how to adapt to her environment, because she sees a crab going up, and then she mimics the crab going up so she can actually climb the thing. Because when she was trying by herself as just like a regular robot, or like any other human, she would probably have, like, if she was a human, she would probably have died with that wave. But because she's a powerful AI, so she just like sees an animal, mimics it, because she sees that how the heck the animal can go up like that, so then I could try to mimic and do the same thing. So you can see how she activates that learning mode even before she understands how communicating with them there, so then she can actually adapt and survive on that environment, on that place that she's
so
in.
much sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now, with that though, like that part of where she is adapting in it and observing how things work, so she can like pretty much thrive in her environment, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You remember like for observational learning, do you remember like the psychologist, like the biggest one that it is around that, like Albert Bandura there,
Bandura.
right?
Yeah.
And like, which is what is like that process of learning by watching others, right? And then Ross does that.
Me as well. Like there is so much fear for the robot because they don't understand. Like the animals do not understand robots, so there's that part of.
Oh yeah,
fear
like
too,
like
right?
the threatening, right? Like the animals immediately
Yeah.
see Ross as
Yeah.
a threat, but that also comes with the idea of like, for example, when you encounter something unknown and it's not the same as you, then you fear. And what do the animals try to do at first? Try to kill the robot, because it activates that, what mimics into humans, the fight, flight, and freeze response.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
What?
That we're gonna cut this part.
No, don't cut it. Go ahead. What are you laughing about?
Just how they try to kill it
Yeah.
because they don't understand it,
Yes.
right? That fear of unknown just reminded me of how Jesus joke coming. Okay, don't take it too personally, but like Jesus is just trying to tell people about like I'm not just son of God, like we all are children of God, and people crucified him for that because they feared that if they were,
Yes. Yeah.
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You
And
know what I
yes,
mean.
and it definitely does make sense though. Like going back to the movie. I find it so funny that little rabbit come into to Ross and it's like, "Are you here to kill us?" And then it's like no, and then they're like, "No, she said no."
Yeah. Oh, those little animals are so cute.
Yeah.
Talking about survival, there, the possums and the mom, they
Oh,
have
yes.
this thing about dying there. That is really funny as well.
Yeah.
Where you're like, well, I'm dying of this and I'm dying of that, and the mama possum's just like,
You don't need to
You don't need
explain how you're dying. That's not the point. Oh, like I love that one because I was watching that movie with my mom, and for her was like, she was like, how come a mom can be like that? Because remember that scene where she's explaining to Ross, like, yes, I have 7 kids, and then there is an attack, and it's like 6, and then later on, the kid is back like, Mom, I'm alive, and she's like, yay! Like, I'm not happy to have 1 extra kid. I thought I had 6.
I think that also kind of like reflects on how the survival part is so necessary that mom is just tired of protecting her kids, and after a certain point she realizes that she cannot do that for a long time, so she's also okay with losing one of the kids, like just
Yeah, well, I mean, like, I don't know, like, it's of course, like, we're seeing an animal, but it also represents, like, for sure, a human being. Like, that's the idea,
The
like,
emotion.
emotions and everything, and it's going on in there, right?
yeah.
So, I don't know, like, I remember just, like, back in my grandma's era, like, people having, like, 7 to 9, 11 kids. Today, you rarely see a family having more than 4 kids, I would say. Or 2, yeah. Like I know a family this day that they have 4 kids, but I think they're the only family that I know that have 4 kids. Like I don't know any other family that have 4 kids there. So, and
Yeah.
it's like having 7 kids, and it's like it doesn't look like she has a partner there to help her out. So she's a
Just doing
what
it all by
single
herself.
mom of 7 kids. My goodness.
Single mom rocking life.
Yeah.
Shout out to all the single moms out there. More power to you, cause goddamn sister, that's
Right.
hefty. And we've talked about how parenting is an action, right? It's a constant verb.
Yes.
If you don't know what we're talking about, go check out our previous episode,
Yeah.
and you will know what we're talking about. So, kudos, moms.
Definitely. Oh, so one thing that I would say that we can take from this little bit of what we talk about is that survival isn't about like overpowering there, it's about the adapting part. So like this is what Roz does. She adapts to it, she observes and learns, and that's how she is able to build that resilience and then thrive in her environment. So next question for you. When Bright Bill imprints on Ross, how does this reflect real life psychology though? Like especially in early childhood development?
Oh, that's such a neat question. I just think like, especially now when I see kids and moms, and when I mean now, I mean as an adult who's more cognizant of their thoughts and behaviors and all of the things around us, I just feel sometimes a mother does not have to use her words to talk to the child, right? Like that instant connection between the mom and the cub is right there.
Mm-hmm.
So that imprinting is just Bright Bill seeing Ross as mom.
Yeah.
Even though, yes, later on in the book also in the movie, we find out that the case is otherwise, and Bright Bill is upset. But in that moment of, like that first moment, it's just that first human contact, the first being contact, if we're talking about that Bright Bill has, is with Ross.
Yeah.
And that also, and because Ross has now learned how to evolve, because she took her time with evolution of that language, of that adapting to the nature, you can see that instinct go inside of her as well. But we also see in that little part that even when she wants to come clean about her truth, Fink is like, no, don't do this.
Yeah.
Right? Because, again, Fink comes in there as somebody who is very much emotional, very much in their survival instinct. Ross is still learning how to manipulate her system in terms of emotions.
Yeah.
So I think that imprinting part is the first seed to where journey of Ross is going to take us throughout the movie.
Yeah. Well, I associate like the imprinting as like the attachment theory that we were talking about.
Yes.
Yes, because of like that, like seeing first the robot, so then it's that idea, right? Like Bright Bill mimics, like you can see like while he's growing up, like he does like even the little sounds that she does,
Talks like Ross too.
Like a robot, right?
I'm here to help.
Yes.
What can I assist you with?
And
yes.
does the same thing like bonjour,
hola,
hola,
konnichiwa.
hello, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And but that's what I see there. But like the imprinting thing though, it's a very true thing, dude. Like that's not a fantasy. It's actually something that happens with goslings, not only goslings but other animals too. So they imprint with the first thing that they see, and scientists believe that imprinting is forever. Like there's no way for them to take that out. For at least at the beginning there. If that goes in early life of the animals, then it doesn't just like dissolve. It's still there, and it goes forever until that animal dies.
My counter question on that would be, how do you think about this first imprinting and the zing that we talked about in our last video? Ooh.
See, that's an interesting way to put together, because that was what we were talking about. Like, if you guys go back there, the zing is that idea of like love, and then like you only love once. And then remember, I try to explain this idea of like loving once, because every time you are with a different person and you love that person, you're loving that person only once, because that's the first and only time you're gonna be loving that person. If you guys break up and then go separate ways, you still only love that person once. Like even if you go back and then try it again for a second time, you're still loving that person only once.
But in this case, when we talk about imprinting like that, my point from the last one also stands that yes, while you can only love them in that particular sense once, you can still love them.
Yes.
So that we see this with Bright Bill too. There's that little part where Bright Bill is angry with Ross, and he wants to tell that, oh mom, I love you, but just does not happen with whatever situation is. We come to the end of the movie, we see that. But right before that too, we learn this journey that zing is gonna remain no matter where you drift off. So while we cannot love them the same way, we are still going to love them, is what I'm saying.
Okay, yes. I see your point. Yeah, that's definitely a way to associate both, for sure. Because you still like that imprinting is like it's gonna last forever. So then that love somewhat could transform, but it's still like the seed is already planted. So then it's still gonna be there. Yeah. Okay.
Such cool connections.
Another question that ties in with like Ross and Bright Bill is, Ross says like, I don't have the programming to be a mother. What does this reveal about how we learn to nurture and care for others, though?
Rephrase it, please.
So like, when Ross says like, I don't have the programming to be a mother.
Like when
she's talking to
the possum.
Yes.
That's the possum,
yes,
right? The one who tells like, yeah, you're the mom now because the goslings imprinted on you. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think that reveals, like in the sense of like us as human, and then nurturing and caring for others, like let's say like a new mom.
Postpartum depression.
Yes, that could come in with it, but
also that scary part where, while you understand that this is a big responsibility, because you've never experienced it before, you just feel that you're not equipped with it.
Yeah.
But as we learn in general life, as we learn that when things are thrown at you, we take it, right? Like we deal with it.
Yeah.
Like the little tasks that we are thrown at us.
Yes.
So that part where Ross goes, oh, I'm not programmed to be a mom, but she learns, right? She evolves to it. She understands that this is my responsibility now, because
that's her task.
That's
right?
her task. That's her That's her task.
Yeah.
And then she leans into it, evolves around it, and we see her being a great mom.
And I love like how like Pigtail, which is the opossum there, she goes like, no one does, like we just make it up. And
Yeah.
that is so real though. That is so
Yeah.
real because I don't think like maybe when you're a mother for a second time, then you kind of like got an idea. But the first time, like not only for a mom but for a dad too.
But
it's like learning.
learning curve too.
Yes.
I also believe, you know, when you say that the second child, the theory of like birth, like first child, second
Yeah.
child, also ties in so much with that, because when you can tell who's the first child and you can tell who's the second child and you can tell who's the third child, because the characteristics are so embedded, because again, that, you know, sense of mom does not know what to do and then mom suddenly knows what to do.
Yeah.
There's that confidence part too, that, oh, I know what to do with this child because I
Yeah.
did it with this child. The responsibility changes, the lens changes,
Mhm.
you know, all of that confidence, just that confidence of that mother changes, that, oh, now I know what to do.
Yes.
And because now I know what to do, there is a little bit more freedom to the second child than the first child had, and there's less responsibility on the second child than the first child had. And that childbirth theory.
Well, an interesting thing to notice, to note about that is people think that, okay, I have 3 kids, for example, and they were all raised in the same environment, same parents, blah blah blah. Now the issue with that statement is that no, they were all raised by different parents.
Yes, they were.
Because the first child, they had different parents. The second child, they had different parents. And the third child, they had different parents. Because you're always changing. We're constantly changing. We're constantly learning different things. We're constantly like forgetting about, or like drop things that we learned and then we no longer think it's useful. We don't bring that to our customs and values or anything like it. So you cannot say that you are raising all 3 children, even if they were triplets,
Yes.
because they're still going to be different beings, and the parents are still going to be different with each other. Like it makes no sense to think that they are being created on the same environment, so then they should be the same person.
But we also learn, right? Like that behaviorism comes in there, like you're with the change in parent, there's change in behavior, and when there's change in behavior, there's change in how you present yourself and how you put yourself out there in the world. Like your ego is built like that,
Yeah.
right? So that is also another reason why we see people, like elder siblings are usually closer friends,
Mm-hmm.
right, than somebody who's a younger sibling and a
Yeah.
you know, elder sibling, because that relatability part with the elder ones comes there, and then the relatability with, and it's with all the things in terms of like the youngest one is, while the youngest one matures faster than the other 2, is also less patient than the other 2,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's the elder one who takes up this responsibility of breaking that generational cycle. So that responsibility of being the elder one comes with there too.
Yeah.
And then there is the middle child. A lot of the times people demean the second child or the middle child as the one who's forgotten. Parents never really forget them. It's just that at the second time they're like, oh, we know what to do, so they're less worried about it.
Yeah.
Which is, well, it's not fair, but what is fair?
So, I think highlight like something important for both AI and human emotions though is like we don't start with all the answers. We learn by doing it. That's basically it. And Ross, in Ross' case, is like she learns through trial, error, and love there, right? Like with Bright Bill.
Yeah.
So, and it's like beautiful that the relationship that they built together. I mean, I thought so.
They do. quite adorable.
Yeah.
The movie is so cute. Also, the way the animation is done, it's so good, so well put together. And because in the first instant when you see the movie start, you're like, huh, you can tell this is a different production house than before. Because I think it's with DreamWorks. Is it with DreamWorks?
I think it's with DreamWorks. Yeah.
And I've always loved DreamWorks animations because Kung Fu Panda, Pooh, we love you. Poe.
No worries.
So the animation is done really well. Like I enjoyed the color contrast, the way that while there's a lot of stimuli there is still not enough. You know, recent videos that we see that children watch, there's high contrast. That's why children want to sit in front of the TV and just look at that. That's very central to Wild Robot as well. That's how we know that it's made for kids, because it wants you to sit and be concentrated on what is going on.
See, like when you have someone that knows their shit about movies, then it's better. So next question for you.
Yes.
How does Bright Bill's rejection of Ross when he says like, "You're not my mom," parallel real life parent-child conflicts?
Angsty teenagers. I love them all.
Alright, don't we?
It's that sense of self that comes in there, right? Like,
yes.
We talked about this in the previous episode as well, where Mavis's ego is taken away from, like, it's broken by Dracula, and Dracula is the one to build it up. It's the same way.
Yeah.
Exactly the same way.
It's that, like, in therapy they say rupture and repair.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, while mom has, I think that, you know, when going back to the part where Ross wants to confront that, oh, I killed your parents, and Fink is like, no.
Yeah, don't say that.
Fink is the catalyst for that building up and that rupturing and then rebuilding it again.
Yeah.
And again, that the reason we are okay with Fink being bad is because it's a fox, and fox are usually related to cunningness.
Yes.
And that part where you're like, oh,
nobody can trust.
But when you look at it, Fink is just trying to make some friends. Fink is lonely too. Fink is the representation of everybody's in it for themselves kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you see that, but at the end of the movie too, you realize that, oh, while Fink was in it for itself, so was everybody else, and it was Fink who finally put everybody in that unity during the storm too.
Yeah, and like, as I was saying, so I have a really soft spot for
Fink.
Especially when Ross asks him, like, I don't remember exactly the quote, but around those lines where she's like, how do you know so much about something without having it? And then he's like, what do you mean? And then she's like, love. And then he basically says like, well, when you wanted something so much
for so long,
then you kind of like, I don't know, find out, learn about that thing, whatever it is. I don't remember exactly his answer though on his quote, and I feel so sorry for him because he's the type of kid, like he shows a little bit like how he was raised. Oh yeah, my mom would put me to sleep with the rock, you know, like she would beat me up pretty much. So I would go to sleep.
It's like, it will die. It's
yes.
like, I did not die.
Yeah, I did not die, so I'm fine.
There is a lot of that reflection of trauma in Fink's way of being. You can tell that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that craving for
love. Yeah.
In this specific part, it is just is craving for connection. Connecting for.
Yeah. No, but it is. Yeah, definitely. And like, I that's where I feel so sorry for him. Like, I cannot imagine being raised in an environment where you didn't feel safe or that you felt unloved.
That's that's sad.
Yeah, it is. Because I understand, like, love isn't perfect, though.
But that's the thing, right? Like when you don't even know how or what the face of love looks like, you are bound to feel that you don't know how to love.
Yeah.
But on the same hand, if we're talking about Fink in here, Fink in the movie, at the end of the movie, you realize that it's Fink who knows how to love most deeply, because that is why it's so difficult for him to love somebody, because it just goes so deep into it that he's even okay saving the bear.
Yeah, that's true.
Like at the end of it, when Ross is like, "Oh, is anybody else left?" It's like,
I
think one more.
Yeah, there's one more, and it's like, yeah, that's true.
And then when they are in the storm, and then he's like, "Well, I just needed some friends. Who am I gonna talk to when Ross is leaving?" And Peddler, love that little beaver. Peddler is like, "Well, you can talk to me if necessary."
Yeah, that's true. That's so funny.
I relate to Peddler so much someday.
Right. Now, with this segment,
yes,
I mean, like this little part here that we're talking about. The main takeaway for me was, like, I wrote it down. It's basically like emotions aren't programmed, so you learn them through connection, experience, and sometimes through loss too. So
it's grieving, right?
yes, it's
Grieving is I don't know who wrote this, but somebody did. If it's you watching, tell that it's you who wrote it, that grieving is a souvenir that you loved deeply.
Oh, I never heard that before, but that's beautiful.
I think the person's dead who wrote this, but
just put it down.
It's not my quote, is all I'm saying.
Put it down there on the comments for us to know if you guys know.
Yes. Or find it.
Yeah. Now, next question.
Next question!
Why does Ross struggle to let Brightbill migrate, and how does this reflect with parental fears?
What do you mean not migrate?
Yeah, remember, like, there's a quote here that I wrote down, and where she says, like, I prefer he be independent, closer to home.
It just reflects on society so much that we don't want babies to go far.
Yes.
Because
it's that idea again, like if you guys watched the last episode, like we talk about this, like the parental fear, overprotection, and everything. That's how it's kind of like, it's that struggle of letting your kid fly away, be, themselves. And it's that is like, this is the part where you like it, is because it's talking about individuation. And that's totally Carl Jung, which is your alley, and it's the process of becoming our true independent self. Yes.
That's the thing, right? Too, that with individuation. Individuation.
Yes.
That it will not happen until you're allowed to. Like
in what way? Sorry.
In ways that how until Ross lets Brightwill go, Brightwill never figures out that he's supposed to be the leader of them all. In terms of Longneck, right? Like there's that process of realizing the self that, and again, Longneck has a lot of big push to that, but right before that, it's Ross who has to let go so that the child can learn the ways of the world and all of that. And it is not, it would have not happened until the parent let the child go.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that reflects a lot in our society as well, where we hold our children so close that we don't want them to grow up, because while we grew up so fast, we're like, oh, why do they have to experience it? But then there's that part, but we have to let it go, because if we don't,
then we're making a disservice for a kid.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
And it's not just for kids too, it's also for people that you love in your life, whether it's your sibling, whether it's your friend, whether it's a random stranger that you met for 2 minutes and they said something that had an impact on you.
Yeah.
Until you take that in and let it go, that watch episode 1 from like detachment theory. Like you have to detach yourself.
Yeah.
Because until unless there is, like, till the time there is attachment, there is no growth.
Yes.
Because you're holding on to it and you're
holding on to that ideal that you created in your mind and not the real thing too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because kids do grow up. And we hate it.
Yeah.
Every bit of it.
Well, I remember when I was a kid and
I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about the little kids
I know.
that I...
But I associating that with, like, I remember I wanted to grow up so fast because I wanted to do the things that adults could do it.
We all did.
Yeah.
And here we are now trying to live our lives through little lenses.
Yeah, like I wish I could go back, but at the same time, like
I'm okay here.
Yeah, no, I wish I could go back because of like the way things were, that you didn't have to worry about the responsibilities of being an adult, paying for your bills and everything. But at the same time, like I was thinking of this the other day though, like when I drove to your place so we could have like a little conversation, I was thinking, no way if I was a kid I could drive my car, like close to midnight to just like go to a friend's place and then to chat or whatever it was, Yeah. So that's where like being an adult it kicks ass too.
We're gonna cut that part.
Why? How does Bright Bill's unique upbringing ultimately becomes his strength though? Do you remember that part? Like you were talking about long neck and everything. How does Bright Bill's unique upbringing ultimately becomes his strength?
Oh, he was raised different.
Yeah. And if you remember, like long neck basically says to him like, everybody's panicked in here. And you're the only one that hasn't been panicking because you grew up with those things. Yeah, because you grew up with Ross, which is a robot, so you know what to do. So I'm just gonna put everyone to follow you, and then you can take them out of here. And that's where Long Neck sacrifices himself, so then they could do that.
You also need that sacrifice of Long Neck, because had he not lit that fire in Brightwill that you can do it, Brightwill would have never understood that somebody saw him.
Yeah.
Right? That part of recognition that I am seen by somebody who is a part of this.
Yeah.
But they are able to see me from somebody who's outside and be the leader.
Yeah.
Why? Brightwell does not understand it, but it's just that recognition of being seen for who he is and where he comes from just makes him feel so that he is okay to lead.
Right. Yeah. And it basically shows to us too that, because when we use the word programming here, because that's what Ross uses, it's basically translating into instincts and nature. So it's the instincts and nature of those animals, that's their programming. But using the word of the AI, Ross at this point, it is the programming part. And Bright Bill shows that we can become more than what we programmed for. So we can become more than our nature dictates and our instincts dictates out there. And like you can see that association too when Ross is asking all the animals to have a truce to live inside of their home there because of the winter. And the thing is, Fink points it out, like, what do you expect? You're putting everybody together. There are preys here and predators all living under the same roof, and then how do you what do you expect was going to happen? It was going to be chaos. And then she tried to point out to them that for them to go through that process of the winter and survive, they have to go above their nature, go beyond their nature, and have that community sense and belonging sense in there, that they can be a unit together. And you could see that also when they're fighting for to keep Ross there, that they're fighting against the robots, and then they're helping that the island not to burn out with the fire and everything. So they become a unit in that sense. So then they can see if they work together, they can thrive too, and they can go above their instinct of just killing each other for survival, eating and everything. So that they can go above that. That was what I was trying to get at. But with that as well is just I find it so beautiful, the scene, going back a little bit of when Longneck tells Brightbill, you're lucky, and it's Ra's gift to you that you're able to migrate. And then Brightbill was like, yeah, no, I know. And then Longneck was like, no, you don't know, because if she hadn't accidentally killed your family, you would have probably have died, because you would not be able to just grow up and have all the skills that she tried to accomplish, which was having him to eat growing up, having him swimming, and having him flying. And he would not be able to do that if she was not there for him, which, using the quote that Longneck says, is it's interesting how life works, so yeah, it's
that just got me so sad, because it reminded me of the part that I cried on in the movie.
Which one was that one?
It's just when she lets him go.
Oh, that she goes there, and then Longneck's like, Brightbill comes with me, and then yes, I find it that very, that scene was very emotional.
Just the scene where the child is going away from its parent. Yeah, don't show me that shit, man.
Okay, somewhat of a last question for you.
Yes.
Roz initially believes she will fit in at the factory. That's why she was gonna go back and everything, right?
How do you fit in? How?
Yeah. So
what is fitting in?
What does she realize instead, and then how does this reflect human experiences with belonging?
Rephrase it.
So, because she doesn't think she fits in the island, and she thinks, and then the other robot basically says you're defective. You should go back to the factory for them to fix you and everything, right? So, but she decided not to go in the end.
Yeah.
And how does that reflect a human experiences of sensing of belonging, for example? Because she thinks that she doesn't belong to the island. Everybody calls her a monster and everything, right? So then how does that reflect of being a human being, and then let's say, because for example, we go to different stages of our lives, and then we get into social interactions. Then you go to a new job, and you go to a new school, for example, or you go to a new city.
Yeah.
or like myself and you, we came from a different country all the way to here, so that's a big change. So then, like, fitting in as an immigrant in a new country, it's not an easy task.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. So
We get so, it's also, how do I put it? Roz wants to go back because in Roz's mind, oh, I'm gonna go back to the robots that look like me, that function like me.
yeah,
But what Roz does not understand is that Roz has overridden her program so many times that she has evolved, and her robots that are point, 2 point, whatever, like the other ones I'm talking about, are not there because they did not have to survive like that.
yeah,
Like, it's about that survival instinct where it evolves you in a way that you are accustomed to certain things that other people are not. For example, the kind of, oh my god, I hate this point, but the kind of hate that immigrants would get,
yeah,
still to the day get, nobody else can experience that for them. No, because, and nobody else can relate to the immigrant in that scenario either, because not only has the other person not seen that, the other person has no idea to the things that this other being has done in order to survive.
yeah,
Right? The other person has no idea the kind of things that they've seen, the kind of places they've been, or the life that has been thrown at them, because their struggles are different than the other person's struggle. So that part of relatability is completely lacking. And when you're an immigrant and you come to this new place and you're trying to survive, you do anything to fit in. You change your accent, you cut your hair, you
change your clothes,
you change your
even,
clothes.
yeah,
And it has nothing to do with, oh, I'm not proud of who I am. It is just a survival instinct.
yeah,
And it is okay.
yeah. Well,
Because how are you gonna evolve if you're not going to survive?
And it's about adaptation too.
Adapt,
So
yes.
You adapt to your new
You
environment.
adapt to your new thing. And
Yeah.
a lot of the times people get stuck in that old idea of being that, oh, because I'm coming from there, I'm gonna be the same way. But that's not what survival is. That's not what adaptation is. And when people lack that adaptation, they receive more hate, they receive more looks, and then they're like, oh, people are looking at me differently, they treat me differently. Well, yes, they are going to treat you differently because that is your struggle.
Yes, and it is part of, but
So much anger though.
the thing with that is like, belonging isn't about where you come from, it's about where you are valued. So true
Say that again.
Yeah, like,
say it again.
belonging isn't about where you come from, it's about where you are valued. So like, true belonging isn't about fitting in, it's about being accepted for who you are.
Yeah. But that's the thing, right? Like, belonging comes after you've survived.
Yes, well, yeah, definitely. I mean, like,
It's a process.
Yes, when you come to, like, talking about like being an immigrant, coming to a new country and everything, then you adapt to survive in here. But then after you adapt to survive, and then you have the means to survive, then that's when you maybe can, like, okay, now I can be myself again and not worry about what others would think. But that takes a little bit of time, though.
It's not a little bit of time, it takes time.
Yes.
There's no little bit of time.
Yeah, but I think, like, I wrote it down here. So 3 things, the main takeaway. Survival isn't about learning. I mean, survival is about learning, not just enduring. Sorry, my bad.
Endurance.
Yes.
Oh, somebody says that. Endurance in
Yeah.
the movie too.
Yeah, like long neck. When long neck is like, you gotta, yeah,
endurance.
he has to learn endurance in a week so then they can fly away. Love isn't programmed, it's created through experience. And belonging comes from connection, not conformity.
Goddamn, sister. Preach.
Yeah. So life isn't about just survival. There is that part, of course, but it's also about like the growing part. It's about the feeling part. It's about the connecting part and finding where you belong in life.
And where do you belong, guys?
Yeah. So I have questions for you guys there, which is like, have you ever experienced a moment where you had to adapt, step outside of what was expected of you, or redefine what family and belonging meant to you, and how did that experience shape you? So if you guys can leave us a comment.
Shape you
there.
or shape your reality?
Yeah.
Either or.
Talking about reality, we will come with the next segment about sci-fi movies.
Sci-fi, so tune in, guys.
Yes, and then we will definitely, one of the movies out there is going to be about reality, and it's going to be about like that idea of getting out of the matrix. So wait for it.
What is the Matrix? He's tripping on shit. Don't listen to him.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you guys later. Thank you for tuning in. That'll be our outro. Like, share, subscribe, comment down below whatever new movies you would like us to talk about. This is Bruno. This is Rabri.
she got all the lines and I didn't say any shit. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Peace. Bye.
Bye.